All right, so we picking up where we left off with the Silent Brotherhood of the East. This is chapter 2, Life and Works of Yahshua and Yusef, or some people would say Joseph, home at the age of 7. So Yahshua was 7 years old. Put that in context. We're going to be talking about people called Elihu, right? And keep in mind in the circle 7 that Elihu had met Mary. And when she was about to, or just delivered Yahshua, remember the conversation that took place between Salome and Elihu and Mary at the circle 7 Quran, like I think it was chapter 2. And what did they say to Mary? Oh, you have somebody that's gonna basically change the ethers, be the embodiment of what it means, basically the heart chakra, So now we're revisiting these same two people, but Yahshua 7, right? So I just want to give a little backdrop. This is a continuation of the circle 7. But the time frames are jumping back and forth. So no, let's keep your head on the swivel. The home of Yusef was on Merriman Way in Nazareth. Here, Mary taught her son the lessons of Elilu and Salome. And Yahshua greatly loved the Vedic hymns and Avesta. These are holy books or sacred books of Hindustan. But more than all, he loved to read the Psalms of David and the pungent words of Solomon. The Jewish books of prophecy were his delight. So Yahshua loved the Jewish books. And when he reached his 7th year, he needed not the books to read, for he had fixed in memory every word. Joachim and his wife, grandparents of Yahshua, made a feast in honor of the child, and all their near of kin were guests. And Yahshua stood before the guests and said, I had a dream, and in my dream I stood before the sea, upon a sandy beach. The waves upon the sea were high. A storm was raging on the deep. Someone above gave me a wand. I took the wand and touched the sands, and every grain of sand became a living thing. The beach was all a mass of beauty and song. I touched the waters at my feet, and they were changed to trees and flowers and singing birds, and everything was praising Allah. And someone spoke. I did not see the one who spoke. I heard the voice, which said, there is no death. So this is all in Yahshua's dream. Grandmother Anne loved the child. She laid her hand on Yahshua's head and said, I saw you stand beside the sea. I saw you touch the sand. And the waves, I saw them turn into living things. And then I knew the meaning of the dream. The sea of life rose high. The storms are great. The multitude of men are idle, listless, waiting like dead sands upon the beach. Your want is truth. With this, you touch the multitude, and every man becomes a messenger of a holy light and life. You touch the waves upon the sea of life. Their turmoils cease, and every winds become a song of praise. There is no death, because the wand of truth can change the driest bones to living things and bring the loveliest flowers from stagnant ponds and turn the most discordant notes to harmony and praise. Joachim said, my son, Today, you passed the 7th milestone of your life, of your wait. For you are 7 years of age, and we will give to you as a remembrance of this day whatever you desire. Choose which will afford you most delight. And Yahshua said, I do not want a gift, for I am satisfied. If I can make a multitude of children glad upon this day, I will be greatly pleased. Now there are many hungry boys and girls in Nazareth who will be pleased to eat with us at this feast and share with us the pleasures of this day. The richest gift that you can give to me is your permission to go out and find those needy ones and bring them here that they may feast with us. Jakim said, "'Tis well. Go out and find me needy boys and girls and bring them here. We will prepare enough for all." Then Yahshua did not wait. He ran. He entered into every home and hut and den of the town, and he did not waste his words. He told his mission everywhere. And in a little time, 103 score of happy children were following Yahshua on Marmiam way. The guests made way. The banquet hall was filled with Yahshua's guests, and Yahshua and his mother served. And there was food enough for all, and all were glad. So the birthday gift for Yahshua was a crown of righteousness. How everybody feeling about chapter 2? Silent Brotherhood of the East. Yahshua, 7 years old. Mary teaching her son the lessons of Elilu and Salome. I just like that because it's picking back up, because I actually picked back up the Circle 7. And because I'm like, I know them two specific people was early in there in Circle 7. So I had to go back and I'm like, okay, those were the high priests or the hierophants or the magicians.
Islam. So you know how most people think Noble Drew Ali is the one who said, if you were to ask me, what to study, I would say, study yourselves. That's actually a quote from Elihu. He is the one who said that. So no, he was like you said, one of the hierophants or high priests that was teaching what's Joseph's or John's mother's name? I can't remember her name, but I know.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, there we go, Elizabeth. Okay. Yeah, so like you said, he told them basically like, there was going to be what people consider a Messiah or somebody forthcoming in order to change up, basically bring love and paradise basically to earth or whatever. So I think it's interesting that, I wonder what that means, like metaphysically, as far as like him saying that he got a wand, he basically touched the sands and everything like that.
I caught that too, the wand.
Right.
Yeah.
That part has always, stood out to me. As many, probably the 2-3 times that I've read, the Circle 7 or whatever. And yeah, like just reading it, it kind of gives like a visual, like its own visual. I can kind of like imagine what's going on or what's taking place during this time or whatever. But as you can see, it kind of seems like everything is happening all at once, because they're referring to him, like I know in the last chapter, they called him a rabbi. Then in another chapter, they call him the Buddha. Then in another chapter, they continuously have a different name or title or state of being that they're referring to Yeshua as, So you could tell, you know, he was basically like what we talked about last time, like a child prodigy. And I like the fact that he was able to basically study the books, the Psalms, the Vita. He said he liked the Jewish books, so I'm assuming that's the Torah and the Kabbalah. So I found that interesting that he was able to memorize it instead of having to go back and look at the book and everything. He could do it off the top of his head.
Yeah.
And that's the crazy part though, Noble. Like when we studying, you know, from the beginning, like when different languages start coming about, because I have studied the alphabet. So I'm just like, yo, it seems like every single person from different places came to the same place, which is Egypt. They sit here and they transliterate the hieroglyph, you know what I mean, or the hieroglyphs or the pictograms, you know what I mean? They translate it into their own language. Because when I look at certain words, like if you look at Hebrew that people speak it now, it's different from the Hebrew they were speaking then.
Yeah, that's the same with Arabic too.
Yes, right. No vowels, right? And then when you look at when you go into it deep, you see that Yiddish, like all of those are Germanic languages, right? So they all go together. But what I'm trying to tie into, it seems like that's why we get the same message over and over, because of that, like all languages come from one, and then you know when you go to a hieroglyph and you try to translate that, not translate it, but transliterate it, you know, that's the divine part where everybody have different meanings of it, but they all come with the same language when we hear it, right? That's divine. Because like a transliteration is different from a translation.
Synchronicity.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, man, that makes a lot of sense, bro. That's
Islam.
Anybody else had any other thoughts for a transition to astral diagnosis?
Islam. 0 to 7 is very crucial. I mean, you can even take it to the 9. The first cycle, 0 to 9, is where you basically get all your base programs. So if you're drowning in esoteric and higher knowledge and memorizing, that's going to be your whole world the rest of your life. Nothing's going to shake you from that. So that might be another lesson that we could start our kids off earlier with the truth, as we are doing in some ways, but in all ways, so that by the time they're 9, 10 years old, we could send them into the world not even worried.
Yeah, Islam on that.
Yeah, Islam. Yeah, I think it is the 7. Like every 7 years, it's a phase of life. You know,
you get a new body every 7 years too, so you always a new, not old.
That's facts. That's what I knew that. Like when your organs, everything it changes every 7 years.
Yep. Each section takes a different amount of time, but the complete body is whole 7 years.
yeah, man, that's deep, man. You know, as parents, consciously knowing that, you know, for the first 7 years of a child's life, to make sure you're getting that goal, you know, all levels. That's powerful, you know. And that's sort of with what I was just saying with the high priest Elihu and Salome. That's what they were telling Mary, the son of Yahshua, that, you know, if you give your offspring Yahshua the lessons we give you, he got a chance to save the nation, you know, be a pioneer or a pivotal part of raising up the vibration of humanity. You know, so that's in harmony with what we talk about, you know. And that's probably why it's laid out like this. And I'm thinking about it, the 7 years, age 7.
Circle 7.
Yeah, you feel me? Like
circles. That's 7 revolutions of the sun, or whatever, all the other bodies, you know.
Yeah. They just start coming to you after we just ponder on it for a little bit. Like, man, it's probably why because they're emphasizing on Yahshua's age. Like, you know, he was 12 at one point, now he's 7. He's gonna get a little older as we keep going along. So yeah.
Well,
everything is theology and metaphysical, because when you think about it, okay, that could just be like them 7 chakras he activated, and then he already was, you know what I mean? They see how you vibrant and everybody already respecting his energy. And then 12 is like, oh man, you didn't already mastered it. You know what I'm saying? You didn't, you know what I mean? I was take the test. What you want? You know what I mean?
Yeah. What they say, he made the 7th milestone. You know that's metaphysical talk. It's the way how that's coming out. It's like, all right, the 7th milestone. You're 7 years old.
Yeah, because wine means I think flexible sticks or flexing stick. That's what wine means.
Mm.
And one more point, number 15 stood out really heavy because it's kind of like the concept of how you stay in the field, basically, not needing or wanting, knowing that you are, in his case, saying gift, so that he could be basically a portal to give more. He didn't need it. He doesn't need it for himself. He knows where to get it if he needs it.
Right.
For those who don't know where to get it, he's helping to give it to them so they can learn how to get it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's like almost like a selfish, egoless answer.
Yeah, he said he's satisfied. I don't want to give. I'm satisfied, you know. So that's beautiful. Yeah.
That's crazy. If you see any language written from left to right, then you have to question, period. Like, because the oldest languages in the world is written from right to left. So all languages literally come from the Phoenician alphabet, because they wouldn't even be able to form those letters to create those words.
Yeah. That's true.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Anybody else? Anything stood out?
Salon. I just wanted to tag team on what Brother Razlion was saying on IAP 15. And you know how Yahshua really was just in the mind state of like, how can I truly be happy with all this knowledge and wisdom and all these material things that I got, and everybody else around me in these neighborhoods and these communities, I know they suffering. You know what I'm saying? Like how these holidays are projected on us every year. Like, you know, everybody's so warped on getting something and getting things and not even looking at what's going on around them. Like it's chaos. Like nobody is really up. You know what I'm saying? Nothing is really right out here. To have that type of mentality, I don't know. It's just like, man, it's deep, because we living in that time today where we seeing it in live action, where, you know, Yahshua minds are missing. You know what I'm saying? And it's major, man, when we look inside of ourselves and really see, like the brother said, like we really have everything. Like, especially if we know we're sourced to get it from, we have access. You know what I'm saying? We need to uplift everybody else so they could be on the same playing field.
Right. Yeah.
Perfectly said. Thank you, brother.
Wow.
Islam.
All right. So that's where we left off on astral diagnosis. We're in the stomach and kidney area. So this female, January 23rd, 1886, 4 a.m., is having stomach and kidney trouble. So we're going to go into some diagnosis on why. A number of operations have been performed in the abdominal region of this patient, and she has gone from one doctor to another. Until now, she is a physical and mental wreck. When she traces these effects back to her primal cause, we come to Saturn and Cancer, the sign which rules the stomach. It is our experience that most people who have Saturn in this position are mincers and peculiar in their choice of food. Saturn in this horoscope is square to Jupiter, the planet of self-indulgence, and to Uranus, the planet of spasmodic and irregular action. Thus, Saturn causes this person to indulge unduly her desire for good things to eat. Uranus and Jupiter in the sign Libra, which rules the kidneys, square to Saturn and the planet of obstruction, show that after the system has been filled with food, which it cannot assimilate, the kidneys are unable to eliminate the waste products. Thus, there is a general clogging of the system with toxins and poisons of all kinds. That's crazy. Then the hot and fiery Mars, placed in Virgo, the sign ruling the intestines, lights the fire of inflammation in order to cleanse the system. The natives' willpower is particularly strong on the account of the weak sign of Sagittarius rising. Is not particularly strong on the account of the weak sign Sagittarius rising. She is easily persuaded to undergo operations rather than undertake a reform in her ways of living. So that's interesting. She'd rather get the surgery versus just changing her ways of living, which would bring out an amelioration of her condition, even at this late hour. Visual of her chart. It is very sad to say that this is the case with a great many people. They are sometimes ready to admit being gluttons when that fact is shown them. But in most cases, they think they are models for self-control. As far as the appetite is concerned, even when they admit that their appetite isn't concerned, even when they admit that they are eating the wrong food. We have had a number of cases, however, where they admitted this, but claim absolute inability to overcome the fault and curb their appetite. The person whose horoscope we are considering has no exception to the general rule, and therefore, all of our efforts to aid her were in vain. She would not even expend the energy necessary to keep up the weekly letters required of patients. In such cases, there is of course nothing to do but to leave the patient to his own resources until he learns his lesson. If not in this life, then in some other one. I think we'll stop right there. Pick it up on kidneys on Wednesday. 187, 180, okay, 182. All right. Let me go ahead and stop the recorder while I remember.